Last time we had Mrs. Jules come to the classroom, thought they were monkeys. They convinced her they were children, and she got them right to work. All right, chapter 3 is called Joe. Joe had curly hair, but he didn't know how much hair he had. He couldn't count that high. In fact, he couldn't count at all. When all the other children went to recess, Mrs. Jules told Joe to wait inside. "Joe, how much hair do you have?" Joe shrugged his shoulders. "A lot," he answered. "But how much, Joe?" asked Mrs. Jules. "Enough to cover my head," he answered. "Joe, you're going to have to learn how to count." "But Mrs. Jules, I already know how to count. Let me go to recess." "First count to 10, said Mrs. Jules. Joe counted to 10. 6, 8, 12, 1, 5, 2, 7, 11, 3, 10. "No, Joe, that's wrong," said Mrs. Jules. "No, it isn't. I counted until I got to 10. "But you were wrong," said Mrs. Jules. "I'll prove it to you." She put 5 pencils on the desk. "How many pencils do we have here, Joe?" He counted the pencils. 4, 6, 1, 9, 5. "You have 5 pencils, Mrs. Jules." "That's wrong," said Mrs. Jules. "How many pencils are there?" he asked. 5, said Mrs. Jules. "But that's what I said. May I go to recess now?" "No, you got the right answer, but you counted it the wrong way. You were just lucky." She set 8 potatoes on the desk. "How many potatoes, Joe?" Joe counted the potatoes. 7, 5, 3, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. "There are 8 potatoes, Mrs. Jules." "No, there are 8, Mrs. Jules said. "But that's what I said Joe. May I go to recess now?" "No, you got the right answer, but you counted the wrong way again." She put 3 books on the desk. "Count the books, Joe." Joe counted the books. 1,000, 1,000,000, 3. 3, Mrs. Jules. "Correct," said Mrs. Jules. "May I go to recess now?" Joe said. "No," said Mrs. Jules. "May I have a potato?" asked Joe. "No, listen to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you say it." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, said Joe. "Very good." She put 6 erasers on his desk. "Now count the erasers, Joe, just the way I showed you." Joe counted the erasers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. "There are 10, Mrs. Jules." "No," replied Mrs. Jules. "Didn't I count right?" "Yes, you counted right, but you got the wrong answer," said Mrs. Jules. "This doesn't make any sense," said Joe. "When I count the wrong way, I get the right answer, and when I count the right way, I get the wrong answer." Mrs. Jules hit her head against the wall 5 times. "How many times did I hit my head against the wall?" she asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. "You hit your head against the wall 10 times. "No," said Mrs. Jules. 4, 6, 1, 9, 5. "You hit your head against the wall 5 times, said Joe. Mrs. Jules shook her head no and said, "Yes, that is right. Yes, that is right." The bell rang and all the other children came back from recess. The fresh air had made them very excited and they were laughing and shouting. "Oh, darn," said Joe. "I missed recess." "Hey, Joe, where were you?" asked John. "You missed a great game of kickball." "I kicked a home run, said Todd. "What's wrong with you, Joe?" asked Joy. "Nothing. Mrs. Jules was trying to teach me how to count." "You mean you don't know how to count?" Joy laughed. "Counting is easy," said Mauricia. Now, said Mrs. Jules, "that's easy for you may not be easy for Joe." That sounds like something I would say. "And what's easy for Joe may not be easy for you." "Nothing's easy for Joe," said Mauricia. "He's stupid." "I can beat you up," said Joe. "Try it," said Mauricia. "There'll be enough of that," said Mrs. Jules. She wrote Mauricia's name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Joe put his head on his desk between the 8 potatoes and 6 erasers. "Don't feel bad, Joe," said Mrs. Jules. "I just don't get it. I'll never learn to count." "Sure you will, Joe," said Mrs. Jules. "One day it will just come to you. You'll wake up one morning and suddenly be able to count." Joe asked, "If all I have to do is wake up, what am I going to school for?" "School just speeds things up," said Mrs. Jules. "Without school, it might take another 70 years before you wake up and you're able to count." "By that time, I may have no hair left on the top of my head to count," said Joe. "Exactly, and that is why we go to school." When Joe woke up the next day, he knew how to count. He had 55,006 hairs on his head. They were all curly. It's kind of interesting how he had his own way of getting to the right answer. It's like in our math class. Sometimes we get our answer in different ways, but as long as it's the right answer, that's what's important, right?